Hi, it's Kimberly Lane, leadership and engagement expert and coach. This video is from my book, Connections Change Everything, and it's from chapter 5 on how to collaboratively and effectively solve conflict or disagreements, if you will, especially when we're working with teams, invariably because everybody has a different responsibility, different deadlines, different goals. Things are going to come up that we're going to have some disagreement on. So how do we collectively and collaboratively come to a solution? Hopefully these steps that I share with you will help you come to a collaborative and good resolution with your team. Let's get started. How to effectively manage conflict and come up with a resolution, right? The better able team members are able to engage, speak, listen, hear, interpret, and respond constructively, the more likely their teams are to leverage conflict versus be leveled by it. By Rund and Flanagan, who are basically co-authors of a book about becoming a conflict competent leader. So I have some keys to correct conflict resolution. The first one is SPACE, S-P-A-C-E, which is to set the tone prior to the meeting. And then S.O.L.V.E, SOLVE, is the methodology in how to solve your conflict and to effectively, collaboratively come up with a solution. SPACE. You have a conflict. It's a heated argument. People are getting upset. Maybe there's an RFP that's due at the end of the month, and it's a must-win for your organization. However, your team is taxed. They've got 10 other RFPs in the queue, plus this one will need extra financial approval, so a lot of legwork on building out the financial FTEs, rate cards, etc., and means that some people will have to be working long hours or on the weekends, and it's going to possibly push other RFPs off their deadline as well. So some people are heated. So from the SPACE perspective, S is first to separate from the initial conversation and the heated argument, create some space in time to pass before you have your next meeting to solve the problem. The next letter is P for place. Find a neutral and convenient place and a convenient time for all to get together, not stressing somebody out by a long distance travel, inconvenient time, not enough time, or at the end of the week. Ask people to come with an open mind, don't demand. This is about asking people to show up with an open mind, to collaborate and to be creative and to think outside of the box. So you want to eliminate as much stress as possible prior to the event. C for collaborate. And please communicate in advance and continuously that this meeting is here to help everybody come together to collaborate, to mutually agree to a solution that works for everybody. And then E is finally for eliminate. Come with the attitude to eliminate tenure and titles. This is an open brainstorming session. Even put egos aside. We're here to come to a collaborative winning solution for all. That's SPACE. Then it's the day of the meeting. It's the day of the conflict resolution meeting when the team's coming together. At the opening of the meeting, reiterate the SPACE principles I just spoke of in the previous slide. Emphasizing to come with open minds, emphasizing to eliminate tenures and titles, and emphasizing that we're all here to collaborate to come with a win-win solution for everybody. Have a whiteboard or something that you can write on to brainstorm for free-flowing thoughts to take away ideas. And then third, have a designated person who's able to take notes and minutes from the conversation that keeps a record of what was said. Great, now you've got the basics. Let's start solving the problem. S, state the perceived issue or conflict. As I mentioned, the challenge appears that the team has been given an RFP that's due in less than a month. We're already swamped with so many RFPs, and this one is a must win. Similarly, so are the other ones, right? So what becomes a priority without overtaxing the team, extended weekends, late nights, etc., because some people just aren't able to because of family obligations, to be able to work those long hours. So what do we do to solve this problem? We list all the objections on the whiteboard. Sally is unable to work weekends or stay late because of her family obligations. Bill has to run this through finance, but there's always a backlog about at least 6 weeks to get finance approval. So that's already going to delay and miss the deadline. And what about the other priority RFPs in queue? What do we do? List all the objections around this solution, around the conflict, if you will. Lay out brainstorming possible options. So for instance, maybe Sally says, maybe when talking to the client, I can find out some information that helps me understand what they're looking for from an FTE perspective, from a productivity perspective, so I can better craft the solution and give them an idea from a rate card perspective. And going to Bill, he can just use a previous rate card and we don't have to create something from scratch. Or maybe you can go to the client and ask for a extension for a couple weeks. Or is there a way that we can create an RFP that doesn't have to be as detailed when we go back to the client? So maybe we can go back to the client and ask these questions to give some leeway, because our goal maybe is first just to get through the first pass to be down selected, and then we can put a more tailored response. So laying out these brainstorming possibilities, right? After we've laid out the brainstorming possibilities, everybody takes those ideas and vets them. Each one picks one that's most appropriate for them, and they vet the solution. So for Sally's instance, can she go to the client and ask if she can get an extension? No. Or can she have a discussion on the rough components of their pricing mix that they need for FTEs and productivity, enough to be able to just use a rate card? And then 3, if going to Bill, does Bill have a predictable rate card without having to go to a entire financial analysis that we're already backlogged 6 weeks for? So they vet each one of these possible options, and then next you'll come back to another meeting and determine which ones are viable, right? Well, it turns out that they can't miss the deadline. They do have to respond by the end of the month. But it turns out that the client was able to talk to Sally enough to give her parameters of what they're looking for in FTE count and productivity, enough to go to Bill and say, do you have a previous rate card that was already developed so we don't have to start from scratch? So now I'm not working late. And number 2, you've already got something created and I'm not on a backlog for 6 weeks. So now the decision has been made. It's a win-win for everybody. Sally's not working late. There's not a backlog of 6 weeks of missing the deadline. We're still able to respond on time for the RFP and hopefully get down selected with an effective rate card for the next step in the RFP. Solve. State the perceived issue or conflict, list all objections, lay out any brainstorming possible options. I don't care how crazy they are. Vet each one of the brainstormed options and then come together and decide on what's the most likely executable, there you go, executable option to uniformly come to a decision that works for everybody. I'm Kimberly Lane, leadership and engagement expert and coach. If you're looking for better business results by building better connections to increase profitability, increase team productivity, increase sales retention or in customer retention, I'm your gal. Reach out for your complimentary connection session and also follow me on YouTube. Thanks so much.